Hey there, good day. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie getting underway on EWTN Radio. Along with Debbie Georgiani, I am Jerry Usher, and you're the one who really makes the show what it is. When you call in with your thoughts, your insights, your life experiences, we call them your takes on the day's topic. Debbie, I hope you had at least a partially restful weekend.
Somewhat, yeah. Well, sort of. Life goes on. Like I always say, life's a little bit crazy these days. But today, I'm actually looking forward to this topic, Jerry, because I prayed about it this weekend. I had a lot of time in prayer this weekend, and I was just thinking about how we can be more Catholic in today's world, in the culture, and that's what we're talking about today. And I struggle with, Jerry, some of the things that I want to bring up later on in the show, but I'd like you to introduce the show, and then so I can kind of process it myself, because I struggle with the fact that sometimes we as Catholics feel that we can't speak up or be a voice in the world for some reason. We're very passive sometimes, and I'm wondering why that is. So I'm hoping that with the hour that we spend with our listeners, that I'll learn something.
Well, we always do, and you can teach and inspire by calling 1-800-585-9396. Catholicizing, if that's a word, I made it a word. Catholicizing the culture is what we want to hear from you about today. Jesus told his disciples at his ascension, go and make disciples of all nations. And so, of course, the church's missionary efforts are always ongoing, but they're constantly met with obstacles from the world. So our question or questions for you today: do you believe that the culture has evangelized the church? You see, it should be the other way around. And if so, in what ways? What are the key areas where you see that the culture has kind of maybe beat up the church a little bit or influenced? Not when we say the church, the church is incorruptible, of course, in her teachings, indefectible and all of that, with the help of the Holy Spirit. But we're talking about individual Christians and areas of the church where it just isn't as strong maybe as it once was or should be. So that's the question for you today. How do we more effectively reverse that, and instead of the culture evangelizing us, we evangelize the culture? How do we do that? 1-800-585-9396. Does that set it up, Deb?
Yeah, it does perfectly. Bit? Yeah, no, while as you were speaking, I was thinking of Europe, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see what our Take Two family has to say about this. So what do you think about this? I mean, can we bring our Catholic values into the culture, or is the culture really training us how to be Catholic, which is it's definitely backwards. So we want to hear from you. What's your wisdom on this? 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to call to get on the show. I know you might need to process it a little bit, but maybe just start calling in, because I think it'll kind of unfold for you like it has for me, just to kind of think about practical ways we can really lead as Catholics and not be such, sometimes I feel, Jerry, we tend to, we kind of try to make peace so much that we compromise our Catholic values and beliefs. Do you think that?
I think in some instances, yeah. And I'd love to hear from anybody who maybe is, I'm not that I'd love to hear this, but you're welcome to call in. Maybe you've got a family member or a friend or a loved one that you have kind of seen the culture chip away at their faith, and you're concerned, and you've tried to say, hey, wait a minute, you're being influenced in a bad way here. We're talking about, kind of watering down our fervor for the faith, our practice of the faith. Maybe we sit in a pew, as they say, warm a pew for an hour on Sundays, and really that's about the extent of it. So how do we kind of light the fire again in ourselves, first of all, but also maybe in our parishes, in our country, and around the world?
Well, Jerry, there's a term that kind of is floating around, and it's been used, I think, by some Hollywood people and stuff like that. And I just wanted to, it really bothers me as a faithful Catholic. It bothers me. They use the term recovering Catholic, and it really it just irritates me to no end, because I understand that people in the church may have hurt other people. I get that. I totally understand that. But that doesn't mean that the Catholic faith is bad. And to use that term, recovering Catholic, it just kind of puts us all in this light that, we're following something that is not healthy or not good. And that's just wrong. And that's why I know a lot of Catholic folks in name only that are almost embarrassed to say they're Catholic these days. They kind of try to water it down so they do fit in. And that's really, to me, I think that we're missing so much of it. And maybe it's good that we're having this discussion so we can get a better understanding of what it means to truly be Catholic in this world today. 1-800-585-9396. Have you heard of that term, recovering Catholic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a very pejorative phrase. I mean, it's you hear recovering alcoholic, you hear recovering drug addict, and of course, when you say recovering Catholic, it has the same connotation, like it's something to be fleeing from and so forth. So what are your takes on this, dear listeners? 1-800-585-9396. Have things gotten so bad that we just need to circle the wagons and just worry about shoring up our own faith and that of those we love, or should we be on the offensive? Debbie, I've heard it said that that passage in the Bible where it says the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Mm-hmm. Well, gates don't move. They're lifeless. They're static, which means the church is the one that should be on the offensive. Not beating people up, proposing, not imposing, but proposing. So
yeah.
It's the church that should be taking action. And then, of course, it says the gates of hell will not, prevail. In other words, the church will conquer all things and will convert all nations as long as we let that happen. But in many ways, we have been sort of assimilated into a culture that is lukewarm sometimes at best, and sometimes just very, very opposed to the faith. So I want to hear what people say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, phone lines are lighting up, so that means you do have a lot to say. So that's good. But what does Scripture say about being lukewarm, Jerry, especially in this world? I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, God will spit you out. And it's time, I believe it's time we walk the walk and talk the talk as Catholic Christians, and we know our faith better, and we go out there and we live it the best way we can. We be Christ out there, and we that's how we're going to transform the world. But sitting back and just pretending like we're not Catholic, that's not going to work. 1-800-585-9396. This is your show. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. When we come back, we're going right to the phones.
This is Janet Benkovic, host of Women of Grace.
Hello, this is Cardinal Donald Wuerl of the Archdiocese of Washington.
This is Gloria Purvis, host of Morning Glory. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Post your intentions on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's website. To get there, just click on the bright yellow J&D logo at take2show.com. Jerry and Debbie personally reply to every prayer intention that's posted. Others will also offer you their prayer support. When there's something important you want prayers for, post it on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's site. Visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo today.
Have you heard about Church Pop? Church Pop features new online Christian content that's fun and inspiring every day. Find it on Snapchat, Instagram, and on the web at churchpop.com.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
The talents that God has given you, have you multiplied them? Have you used them for His glory or for your glory? Have you used the gifts of the God of the universe for Him? Have you multiplied those gifts, or have you buried them? Life isn't over yet. If you haven't been using them, it's time. Make a decision that not one of those gifts are wasted, that you use them and you multiply them, because that's what's important, huh? Have you been a man of love? Do your wife and children know that you love them? Do you tell them that? Do they look at you and they look in your eyes? What do they see when they look in your eyes? What do they see? Do they see a man of love? Do they see a man of love? Because again, as St. John the Cross said, in the end, we will be judged in love.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We love spending this hour with you each day. And the show does encore, by the way, at midnight Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and a a best of. Our producer, Rich, and the team, they select a show from, well, a recent week or maybe the week before that and air that on Saturdays at noon Eastern Time. So you get plenty of opportunities to listen to one another, share and inspire and build each other up on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Here's our number, 1-800-585-9396. Please share your take on how we can more effectively Catholicize the culture and the world around us.
Did you really make up that word?
Well, I don't know if I made it up. Maybe it was already coined. I don't know.
Catholicize? That's a good word.
Yeah.
I like that. We should start like a board game with it.
Right.
Doesn't it sound like it? Okay, Bob is first up in Horseheads, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross. I'm sure you've got something to say about this, Bob. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think what you're talking about is something that I think about almost every day of my life, and that's what's wrong, and why aren't we doing better, and what do we have to do to change things? I mean, I have a very large family. They've all left the church. Maybe one has come back over 50 years. And I look at this and I think to myself, what went wrong? What's the problem? Why aren't we? So to be in love with God, you're supposed to be on fire. I don't know anyone that's on fire in the entire Catholic Church in our area here, especially, maybe one priest. It's just routine. The one church I go to, or used to go to, it's just the older people going now. No youth, no young people, no youth group, no anything. It's just mass, marry 'em and bury 'em, they say about the Catholics. So it's irritating like crazy if you have fire in you. So I started a company thinking, okay, this is back in 1993. I think, well, I've got a vision. I've got a way of doing this. This will work. If I can draw a few people in to help me, we could build something here that, Christian or Catholic roots in business. There's been a lot of talk about that recently. And nowhere. Could not find people to work with me. Could not. I built a pretty good business. It worked really well. Now I'm scaling it down because it's just getting way too discouraging. And there's no fire for anything, and we seem to, just go to Mass and kind of that's it. And then everybody complains about what the priest does or, it's just been the same sort of routine forever. But I always go back to Bishop Sheen, who I kind of liken to, because I remember him. I even met him when I was in second grade. I kind of liken him to, believe it or not, sort of like Donald Trump, sort of like cleaning the swamp out. And that's the mentality we have to have. We have to reorganize. We have to relight the fire. We can't just keep going back to the same routines, and we need to really challenge ourselves to think outside the box. And I agree with what you said here a little bit ago about just always, is it all our focus when we think about love is about being nice to each other? I'm not nice to any of my family. We've all gone at it. I'm not even talking to any of my 8 sisters right now because it is so discouraging what they've done to in their own lives, and then blaming my mother and my father.
Bob, let me jump in here because, Bob, first of all, you've used a word several times, and I want to zero in on that. You used the word fire, and I'm reminded of a quote by St. Catherine of Siena. She said, "If you are what you should be, you will set the world on fire." And Bob, I would suggest, and I'm sure you do this, every day you get up, hit your knees in gratitude that you still have that fire, that gift of that faith, and you see people you love who have let that flame dwindle and maybe even go out. I don't know. But you have to be maybe the instrument on your knees, from your knees, who's going to bring them back. Maybe not with words.
Father, I already do that. that.
Okay, sure. That's why I suggested you're probably already doing that. But
Jesus and I have no problems. He leaves once in a while. He comes back. There's no issues there. I don't need to pray any more than I do. I go to Mass almost every day. And so there's no issues there. The issue is people getting together and saying, we're going to change the world. That's what we have to think to ourselves. We're going to put our resources, our talents, our abilities together, and we are going to change the world.
Right.
So if you're not willing to do that with other people, not just within the church, but outside the church, then we have no chance to make this thing move anywhere. Unless unless something major happens, like, Mary visits the United States or something. We need the fire of the martyrs. We need all of it. But
well, you just said, Bob, you just said exactly what I was going to say, is that's what we need to pray for. We need to pray for courage. We need to pray for those folks that are going to step up and be willing to be persecuted. I mean, I just read a story recently of this young Catholic group on a Catholic university, and they were standing up for Catholic values, and they're possibly going to be punished for doing that. I mean, they had the courage. So where are all the rest of us standing up behind them saying, way to go, kids? Keep going. See, what happens, I think, is we have a sense of there's a kind of a pervasive fear that's going on in this world where everybody's saying, I'm not going to draw attention to myself, because if I do, I'm going to be attacked, or somebody's going to say something bad about me, or they're going to take away my livelihood, or they're going to hurt my family, or they're going to say I'm a hate person or whatever. So everybody stays quiet. But what happens then? Then evil prevails. And so we have to pray for folks like you, Bob, who can step up with courage and are willing to be out there and to be slaughtered, if you will, because that may happen. And so that's what I think we need to pray for, Jerry. What do you, and also surround ourselves with like-minded people, because we do need that support.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob, for the call. Appreciate the very helpful insights and your fervor, your passion. Really love that, Bob. Thank you. Please keep listening to the show and definitely call again. We're going over to Dave, who is next in Vermont, listening on Our Lady of Perpetual Help Radio. Hi, Dave. You're next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Pretty well, Dave. How about you?
Good. Thank you. What you're sharing has been on my heart quite a bit also, and I think that it takes a deliberate effort. I mean, I was talking to one of my customers through email recently, who I knew that this person was living with his girlfriend and all, and but he emailed me and let me know they had gotten married, and so it was a great opportunity for me to say how happy I was for them, and I added in, marriage is good, and you don't hear that very often these days, and these people aren't particularly Catholic. Actually, I know that he was he was raised Catholic, but the bottom line is, I think it just becomes, if we can start to just interject things in conversations and whatever, that just stand up for the family, especially, of course. And I think your programs is challenging me to maybe, I've wanted to memorize some facts like single parent families and the rate of incarceration of youth from single parent families. Just stats that aren't even. I mean, certainly we want to bring the church and the Catholic part of it into it, but just secular stats that show, how good it is to have a family, how good it is to be married, how good it is for, a father figure to be in the home. And I think if we start to do some of that, I think that'll help us to become more bold as we begin that. But just starting that process, I think, is hard sometimes. But your program's a good encouragement for me to start doing that more, and I encourage others just to stand up a little bit at a time, and I think our boldness will grow.
Right. Well, yeah, to gather that courage by stepping out, kind of baby stepping it. I agree with you, Dave. The thing about statistics is, those are the facts. And here's the problem with today's culture. We ignore facts. Just turn on the news. You'll see that even when they present the facts, everybody wants to have their own agenda and their own interpretation of things. So we have become a culture that has rejected the facts. And so I agree with you that the stats are definitely a way to keep the conversation going and kind of, spark some maybe food for thought in their minds to maybe think about things. Absolutely. But also too, I spent the entire weekend, I had a lot of time this weekend. Unfortunately, my mom was in the hospital. And so I was praying a lot and looking at some YouTube videos of saints that have visited purgatory and have gone and have seen hell and have seen heaven. And it all comes back to this. We have got to pray. We've got to pray more as a world. And we've got to, like Jerry said, we've got to get on our knees and we've got to be asking God to please intercede and help us with what's happening, because we're in a culture that it's kind of like it's just stagnant. It's just it's not moving anywhere, and you can feel it. Yeah. It doesn't take much to figure this out. So I agree with you. Definitely stick with those facts and be bold and try to increase our boldness by practice. I'm right with you with that, Dave. What do you think, Jerry?
I can't add anything to that. Dave, what are your thoughts on what Debbie was sharing?
Yeah, I agree, and maybe one of the only good things about the fact that the society is going so horribly right now is that it's a means to clearly show people how bad things are. It's like how do you argue with some of these facts and the breakdown in the family? And I think it at least gives us a chance to say, look, it's not working. You can see it's not working. And, maybe that's one of the only good things. It's hard to convince people about the truth when things aren't going that bad, but if the pendulum has swung to the point where people are, at least some people are starting to say, wow, I guess it is kind of bad out there when you look at this, maybe it's an opportunity to witness.
Very much so, Dave. Thank you for what you shared. And I just I think, Debbie, the thing that strikes me about this topic, this conversation, is we talked about people who may have had the gift of faith, may have been on fire, may have been really, really zealous at one time, and we all know people who kind of lose that, and it could be because of a lot of different things. Sin patterns could develop in our lives. We stop praying. You've mentioned prayer, and the thing is, a blindness can come over us. It's really astonishing. I think it was attributed to, I think it was G.K. Chesterton or somebody said the only real sin is to call green grass gray, meaning you're looking right at the green grass and you're saying, look, that grass is gray. No, it's green. See, this blindness comes over as people are looking right at the institution of marriage. They know exactly what it is, what it should be, and they're calling it something else. They're looking at, all kinds of other, just objective, objectionable things and calling them good, and that's that blindness sets in, and that's really hard to resolve once those blinders come down.
Well, yeah, and going back to Bob's call, the first call, when he was saying about how there's kind of this complacency within church communities, it's very hard for the faithful to be on fire and to kind of pick up that torch and keep going when you have a community that's not supporting it. So that's, again, why we have to go back to prayer to remove those blinders, to kind of reset the button and start over and start to build again. We have to do that, Jerry. If we go along to get along, if we just keep moving the way we're moving, or I should say keep circling the way we're circling, what's going to happen? We know it's not going to be productive. Do you ever think that this is going to get better? Look at what's happening. We've got impending war with North Korea. We got all these things going on. It's really a chaotic world right now.
Well, it's just really a time to be in a state of grace and in a state of prayer on a very regular basis. Thanks again, Dave, for that wonderful insight. Thank you. Mary in Houston is up next, listening, of course, on Guadalupe Radio. Mary, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you? Hi, Mary.
I think you're addressing me.
Yeah. Hi.
I agree with the callers. I just had a few comments about how I feel the church may be becoming lukewarm or complacent, and then a couple of things to do about it, maybe, that I'm doing. But I think when I was growing up and I started seeing Hawaiian shorts and flip-flops to Mass, I was kind of taken aback by that as a high school kid, and I was always taught by my parents to dress, to dress for Jesus, really, because that's what we're doing. We're praying the Mass. We're not just there for a motivational speech. And slowly through the years, I just feel like, yes, complacency has come in. We just kind of we go through the motions. I call them 2%ers, Catholic in name only, whatever you want to call it. And I decided, well, I don't want to be a part of this. I need to, we need to live the sacraments. Pray the rosary. You said, pray, get back to prayer. Exactly. There's a perfect way to get back to it is to pray the rosary. I wear the scapular. It's a daily reminder of my commitment to my faith and my devotion. And I found the traditional Latin Mass, which has been enormous in my learning. And I didn't find that till I was 35. And I was like, whoa, these are the homilies that I have been waiting for. This is what I needed to hear, because I'm actually being taught my faith every time I go to Mass. I learn something new, and the Latin and the all of the meaning behind the Mass. Everything has a meaning, and I thought that was so. I just got it more when I went to Latin Mass. I don't know why. There's nothing against Norvis Ordo, but that is just where I was inspired. And I went to sort of, you go to the internet and there's a lot of websites, there's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down, and you kind of have to sift through it to really get the truth. But there are people out there really fighting for the faith and fighting against the, disruption of the marriage and the, which I definitely think is important. And there's definitely
Mary, forgive me. Let me jump in just for a second here, because we got a break coming up here, and I want to share a thought or two, and I know Debbie does too. And you are making some absolutely great points. And just the first thing that comes to my mind, and forgive me again, Mary, for jumping all over you there, but you're going to hear that break music. There it is, right there, and it's a break that we can't move. But it just, to me, it gets down to we need to recognize two things. The awesomeness of God, the majesty of God, who is all perfect and all holy, and the other thing is the human condition, how in need we are. And if we recognize those two things, I think we're off to a really good start. But Mary, hang on. More on the other side of this break on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We all have a tendency to mull things over again and again when we're upset. We recite litanies of negativity to ourselves. If someone called you up to whine all the time, you'd eventually hang up the phone, right? When your inner voice becomes a whiner, when you find yourself repeating the same problems to yourself in different ways all day long, it's not doing you any good. Hang up the phone. But what if the problems I'm upset about are real, you say? Well, that's fine. Deal with them. Just don't stare at them all day. Look, when I go for a walk, the sun is real and it's big. But if I stare at it, not only will I miss the beautiful world around me, it'll fry my retinas. You need to choose which part of reality you're going to stare at. And the default setting for a child of God should be setting your eyes on things that lift you up to heaven, not things that drag you down. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Welcome to EWTN's Catholic Almanac.
It's October 30th, and on this day in 1630, the first Mass was said in what is now New York City. A small chapel was erected on the island of Manhattan with the aid of the Catholic governor. A Jesuit school soon followed the chapel. Also on this day, the church remembers St. Alphonsus Rodriguez. In 1571, he joined the Jesuit order. Known for his obedience and penance, he served as a great inspiration for St. Peter Claver.
EWTN, teaching the truth.
In seeking to cultivate a devotion to the Mother of God, we are simply acknowledging her as the mother of all Christians, our spiritual mother in the faith, and the preeminent Christian disciple. We want to imitate her virtues, follow her in her devotion to Christ when she said, "Be it done to me according to thy word," do whatever he tells you, and ask for her prayers and intercessions.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Thanks for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're just talking with Mary in Houston, Texas, and she's just sharing about, what really, can kind of light the fire by really re-engaging ourselves in the faith. And Mary, that's what it sounds like you have done in your spiritual regimen. I just wanted to say, Mary, I what's unfortunate about what's happening in the culture is that, and this is no judgment, please, I just want to put this out there. It's not a judgment on anything, but when you talk to folks and you really ask them to be honest. Now, here's the thing. Most people will say things because they want to make sure that they're accepted and they're not being judged. So they'll say things that may just get along, okay? But if you really peel back the layers and you say to someone, can you really be honest with me for a moment? How many minutes a day or how much time do you dedicate to prayer a day? It's shocking. It's shocking. It really is. And it's because we are in such a crazy busy world that we don't set up a good spiritual regimen like you're doing, Mary, to feed our souls and to give us that sense of courage and to let us go out there into the world and be the best Catholic Christians we possibly can be, because we are living this fast-paced life. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, Mary, but it's beautiful to hear your testimony. I just wish we could, kind of bottle you and pass you around to the rest of the world, because that's what others need to be doing, making that conscious effort to re-engage and to be active in their faith.
Yes, thank you. I totally agree. And I really have to credit my husband here because he was the example. And really, I think our Catholic men need to become the example as well for their wives, for their children. He prayed the rosary daily. He brought us to the Latin Mass because we were both looking for the same thing, and which was great. And it is troubling. Even in my employment, at my work, at my job. I have a couple of office mates who question the Catholic faith. One of them was brought up Catholic but no longer lives her faith. And the other one is Methodist who married a Catholic. So they ask me questions, and I'm always taking the opportunity to positively evangelize to them and help them learn. And if I don't know the answer, I will say, I will go talk to a priest, or I'm going to go research the answer, and I will get back to you. And I think that is another way that we can bring the faith to others and help them see that we're not about hate, and we're not about you can't do that, and we're not about rules. That's another thing that's been thrown in my face as a Catholic is all the rules. Nobody wants to follow our rules. And I was like, well, they're not rules, but, you kind of have to clarify with them. So that's another way that I feel like in a more public way and human interaction way, rather than just my solitude and prayer and going to Latin Mass, that I can try to bring the positivity of our faith and the beauty of our faith to people who are open to it and wanting it.
To evangelize.
And maybe they're not, but at least, you can reach their heart maybe. And yes,
there
I had risks as a
there are
Catholic,
opportunities
too.
for this every day, Mary, and you are open. You're actually trying consciously to be aware of them. And I try and do that too if I can. No one is perfect at this, but one thing that you said, I just want to kind of end on this, and we got a lot of calls, Mary. But you talked about if you don't know the answer, tell somebody. I'll get the answer or point them to where they can find it, maybe an internet website or something, because there is no excuse for not being able to help somebody in a situation like that. None of us has the catechism. Our brain is not a hard drive. We haven't downloaded the catechism into our brain, and we can just act a couple mental mouse clicks and we've got the answer to everything. But there is an answer. There is an answer, and Debbie, people are searching, and we might be the one that points them in that direction, that changes them forever and even for eternity. So I think Mary shared some great stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary. We really appreciate the call. Carol, you've been waiting so patiently. As a matter of fact, Carol, you got our Virtual Patience Award, I think, or Martha might be right up close to you. But hey, you guys can share the virtual award.
Taking my call. Am I on the air?
Yes, you are. You're listening on Emmanuel Radio in Massachusetts?
I don't know the name of it. I listen to two different stations, one FM and one AM,
cool.
Depending on the reception. But
Nice.
Hi, I wanted to say I'm proudly both Catholic and a member of a 12-step meeting, and people who misrepresent both by using the term recovering Catholic, it just really bothers me because they're causing harm to both. First of all, it's not what the AA program says. You can believe any religious figure you want, even a non-religious figure. You're entitled to your own faith. So, to be putting down someone's choice like that is wrong. So my question is, and when I hear somebody put down the Blessed Mother, that really goes up my, So, so I'm thinking that when I see it again, I want to go up after a meeting and say something to the person, because that's not what the program says. The program is not against. What would I say to the person though? Because if I throw anger at them, then they can just point to me and see, I told you so. Everybody's angry, and so I don't know how to stand up for my Blessed Mother in a way which is non-angry and misrepresents the Catholic faith by throwing anger at somebody.
Well,
you want to go first?
Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, I was just the first thing I was going to say is, all things in love. I mean, love in all things doesn't mean we have to roll over and say, not have a response in a situation like that, Carol, or not say anything or just go, oh, yeah, okay, well, that's okay. You can believe that. We need to defend our faith. We need to defend our Lord and Our Lady, our Blessed Mother especially. But doing it in love, doing it in patience, and, maybe just say to somebody, You know, I mean, if that's your understanding of Mary, that's not really accurate. And I'd be happy to share with you, what I know and understand and believe about her. And maybe also, Debbie, what's always good is to share personal encounters. If Mary has been a blessing in Carol's life, or what the faith has meant to Carol, concretely in your own life, Carol. And these are some thoughts that might
sounds good. I could do that.
I was just going to share, I was going to echo what Jerry said. Absolutely, Carol. Just speak from your own experience of Mary, your absolute own experience, the love you have for Mary, what she's done in your life. And, others are drawn into people's experiences and their own relationship with what they have with the divine. And so I'll tell you that makes I believe that's a great evangelization tool and a real educational tool for others to understand it better without it being combative or in a conflict. The other thing too about the recovering Catholics, I hear that comment all the time when I go around the country, and I just actually, to be honest with you, I don't even engage with it because I don't draw attention to it. And what I do is I actually just look up to heaven and I say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I say that every single time. I do, because it's not, you never...
Because it really bothers me. Mm-hmm. So that's good. So I'll send up a prayer for it and just not let it get to me.
Yeah. Absolutely, that's what I would recommend.
I will say something to somebody only if I can say it out of kind of like a, I guess just do it like what you said, and just do it in like a lively, hey, do you want to know about Mary? Guess what? Type of happy, you get to know a friend type of thing.
Right.
If I can do that without throwing anger at them, that sounds like a good idea.
But real quickly, Carol, too, if somebody is genuinely saying that they were troubled by the Catholic Church or someone in the Catholic Church has hurt them, I will immediately say to them, I'm sorry that you were hurt by somebody in the church, but that's not the church. That's not the complete church. Sorry about that. That's my fax machine again. Jerry, you know what? I'm on an automatic dial every time now during our show. I've got to figure out how to get off the automatic dial. But anyway, I also I apologize on behalf of whatever person hurt that person, but that's not the church. And I think sometimes just even offering somebody just a validation that they were hurt by a person, whether it's a lay leader or a priest or a deacon or whatever, it sometimes, puts them at ease. Would you say that, Jerry?
Yeah, for sure. And just a real quick final thought on that recovering Catholic phrase, Carol, you might want to think about it this way. If somebody uses that phrase, you could say, raise your hand. I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm a Catholic who's recovering from original sin, and I'm getting better because of my Catholic faith. So maybe turn that around, if that might work in a certain situation. But thank you, Carol, very much for your call. We're talking today about Catholicizing the culture. And Debbie, you mentioned Martha would be next. And Martha, you definitely get a piece of that Patience Award. Thank you for holding on so long there, driving through Iowa. Martha, thanks for your patience and welcome to Take Two.
You're very welcome. I just think that the problems are multiple. I think it has taken us a long time, years, to come down to where we are right now as far as Christians and living the Word of God. And I think that many times there is hope, and many times I have seen that in young people. We have to work with our young people and get them back. And many times it was because they just have been kind of neglected in a way. But I believe that we really need to go to the grassroots, to go back to our communities and show that we are Christian, no matter what people believe, but set the example of doing good. And I believe that really being kind to people and showing them that you do have love for all kinds, that is really a key here.
Yeah, what's that old song? They will know we are Christians by our love. And so, yeah, we got to lead with love always. But you know what? Love separated from truth is not true love. But what I wanted to zero in on, Martha, that you said is about our youth. And Debbie, I know you've worked with youth for so many years of your life. And I am just so deeply concerned right now because parents, you've got it harder than ever, I think. because of the different influences on our young people in the world today. And, we're hearing stories and news headlines and so forth, as people are debating the question, is kindergarten too early to teach kids about transgender issues and stuff? And I'm going, what? Are you kidding me? So parents, you've got to be vigilant because, Debbie, the church will never, of course, be, in its essence eliminated. But as far as the look and then the size of the church and the fervor of the church, if we don't step in and rescue our young people today, the future is very, very bleak for, being able to evangelize and Catholicize the culture. That's my 2 cents worth on that anyway.
Well, yeah, and I just wanted to add, too, that the parents, please, you are the primary catechists. Please just don't send your children once a week to religious education and think that everything is going to be taken care of, because that doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. You have to work with your catechetical program and support one another and develop that child to be formed in the faith properly at home and when they're in the parish community. So it's really important that parents don't just kind of push it off onto the parishes, because it's not always the perfect place. Because I'll tell you what, I've had some great, wonderful, well-intentioned catechists sign up. And, I would go around and I would critique their classes, and some of the things that they were teaching, I was like appalled, and I had to pull them from the classroom because they were inserting their own agendas. And see, that's why parents, you have to be vigilant, like Jerry said. Thank you so much, Martha. We really appreciate the call. And, you know what? This has been so far, I think we're learning a lot from this show, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, Martha, thanks. Please be safe driving there through Iowa. And we got several more of you that we're going to get to. Speaking of information and staying informed and knowing what the truth is, EWTN has so many resources, more than we can count, actually. It's just so fantastic. But Catholic News Agency is one of them. And it's the only fast, reliable, and free Catholic news source that gives you blogs, it gives you stories, opinions, and a whole lot more. And so for the latest Catholic news, you want to get your news from a Catholic. This doesn't mean it's whitewashed. Doesn't mean it's got this Catholic-only slant on it. It just means that you're going to get the scoop straight without the secular spin on that. Visit CatholicNewsAgency.com. It's an online news service from your friends at EWTN. Just wanted to get that mention in there. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you again, Martha. And Roland, you're up next in Ann Arbor, Michigan, listening on Ave Maria Radio. Hi, Roland. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, first-time caller. Calling from just outside Ann Arbor here in South Lyon. I was telling your screener that we're my family's part of the Our Lady Good Counsel. We're so blessed to have Father John Ricardo as our pastor, and I just I know it's very discouraging, some of the calls that have been coming in, and I just want to say our parish is just it really is on fire, and from our men's group that I'm part of, every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m, we have over 300 men at times of all walks of life, people who are professionals, and we have Life Teen, certainly the Alpha program, and certainly a lot of it's attributed to Father Ricardo, who he baptized our two little guys, and we've known him for about 7 years now, and he's such a blessing. But the men and women who are certainly disciples of our parish. It's just an amazing thing, and I'm just so blessed. And I can't say enough about what is going on in our parish, and I think a lot of it has to do with just giving testimony, just regular stories of regular people who have encountered the Lord. And I think Cardinal Barron out in California used to say that. Bishop Barron, sorry.
No, that's okay.
You elevated
you have to bring people to Jesus first, and then teach, the sacraments and that. I think so many of us, the Catholics, me included, lived a very secular life for a long time, and we were catechized, but we were never evangelized. And what Bishop Barron was saying, it's like trying to teach your son the infield fly rule, but never take him to Wrigley Field or here, certainly Comerica Tiger Stadium. And I just want to say, I think the one thing that's really changed our parish that Father Ricardo has implemented is, Eucharistic adoration. And it's, I can tell you, there's so many people, myself included, when I can go there. But it's a thing that, Bishop Vinderound and Unleash the Gospel, his encyclical just come out, and basically we have to encounter Jesus first. And I know myself, being in medicine, people are more concerned with the secular things of making money and, pleasure and status. And certainly those are all good things. But, that in himself, without Jesus, really, it brings an emptiness. And I had to find that on myself. And I think it was a Matthew Kelly CD a few years ago when I was almost 40, that 39 years old, when I was, I had an encounter with the Lord. And basically, there's genius in Catholicism, and it is very discouraging. But I like St. Augustine, I had to go out and find that out myself. And it wasn't until, I maybe hit a really hard part of my life. And my mother, God bless her, she's like St. Monica. She prayed for my soul for 38 years of my life. And I'm on a journey out 10 years now, and I'll never go back to that person that I was before. The Lord wants your cup to overflow, and I think whatever you can envision in your life, a good life, the Lord wants something more. And I can't say enough about, just this love of Jesus. And, when you meet that person in Jesus, you want to tell everybody about him. And that's
Roland, that's the key right there, though. That is absolutely the key. What does the Bible say? The Word became flesh. The Word is not it is a printed word, the written Word of God, but the Word became flesh, and Jesus is real. I mean, we believe in a person who saves us, not printed things and all of that, which is so important. But like you said, you use that analogy. You can teach your kids all these, different rules about baseball, but unless you take them to the ballpark and they experience it, it's just going to be head knowledge and intellectual knowledge and so forth. So I think that's a fantastic point. And Debbie, also his point is, God honors the what do you call it, the chain of authority, if you will. And when a pastor like Father Ricardo or other priests say, Lord, I give you permission to do whatever you want in my parish, boy, watch out. God will rush in. The Holy Spirit will rush in a situation like that. So and God bless Father Ricardo.
Right, and Eucharistic adoration. We know the blessings that flow from perpetual adoration. We know that. We all know, we know it takes time. That time out of your day, if you have a busy schedule. Roland, it sounds like, it being in the medical field, like you said, you probably have a busy schedule, but you're taking time out of the day with those 300 men to pray. That is going to bear good fruit. It just is, because it goes along with exactly what God has instructed us to do. And you look at the lives of the saints, that's exactly what they did. Roland, thank you so much. Jerry, real quickly, I just wanted to say, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but you know what? I think God has a funny sense of humor. I shared earlier that I'm on an automatic fax machine that comes in right around the time of our show, and it's just a general marketing fax machine. And so I just got the fax, and it came in, and it says, if you want to be a good leader in this world, sign up for this group. And it's talking about like a corporate, team building and stuff. But to call it a coincidence, I don't know. Maybe God's trying to say, we got to be leaders. We have to go out there and be bold like Father John Ricardo. And let's all pray for him, because you know what? Obviously Satan's probably not happy about the fact that there's 300 men praying at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So we've got to pray that Father Ricardo continues on that strong, bold path. So thank you, Roland, so very, very much. Patrick, you're up next in Fort Wayne, Indiana, listening on Redeemer Radio. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Patrick.
Hello, Patrick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
My phone sitting inside. Yeah, let me take off my speaker, please. Oh, I don't want to come off. I hate this phone. Anyway,
okay.
We can hear you okay.
Okay, great. Jerry, to me, to be a true Christian is to be a true Catholic, or vice versa. To be a true Catholic will be to be a true Christian. The word Catholic, we'll see, started out by Pope Alexander, or Bishop Alexander, in 109. And the word Catholic meant Christian. Do you know what he did? Didn't he work for... I can't remember. Anyways, to get to the point is, this day and age, we watered down the Word of God too much. I mean, 20 years ago, I went to Bible study, and it was just totally watered down. We are living in a time with this culture of death. Too many people are becoming Christianity anti-Christian. Well, they don't anti-Christian, but their morals. They base their morals on upper people. And whether
I don't know if you're still there, Patrick. I just wanted to.
Okay, yeah. Am I? You hear me? Okay. I just
yeah, we're short on time though, so if you can kind of bring this.
But too many people base their morals on somebody else, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. It's a culture of death. The flame is dying. Single parents, mothers teach their children how to survive in the world. Sometimes they have to eat the dad. Okay. Fathers, believe it or not, teach the kids how to handle stress. Without a father in the home, who's going to teach them how to handle stress? So many people, one-parent families and stuff, who are going down the wrong road. It's the kind of shame. Over 1 million baby girls, women that are not here. Women, how many Susan B. Anthony's? How many women?
Patrick, forgive me. For the sake of time, I'm just going to jump in here, and I think kind of what you're getting at, if I can kind of glean a nugget out of this is, you're talking about, we need to not base our faith or what we believe in or how fervent we are on the, the poor example of some others. And unfortunately, we've got a media and a world that often holds up as, quote, Catholic examples those who espouse and embrace immorality and things like this. They call themselves Catholics, and even around us, in and around our own neighborhoods and so forth, we cannot, Debbie, we have to base our faith on the relationship that we have with God and that He wants to build up within us. And if we're looking at how so-and-so practices his faith or her faith and saying, well, I can get by just doing that, and they're not really that fervent or something, then it's a dangerous way to gauge how our faith life should be.
Right. We can't be manipulated or kind of swayed just by somebody else's encounter, their lifestyle, or whatever. I mean, we've got to know what is true in our belief system within the Catholic faith. And Patrick, I mean, you make some really good points, and I really believe in my heart of hearts, I'm hopeful for the future, because I think there's a lot of leaders getting ready to step up and be like the Father John Ricardos of the world, and to go out there and try to have communities that are really steeped in prayer and really wonderfully rooted in the faith with great formation. And I'm very hopeful for the future. And that a Catholic radio, I mean, this is one of the reasons that I go around and try to help Catholic radio stations raise the necessary funds, simply because we need Catholic radio more than ever. We need a voice to give us that sense of strength so that we can join together and go out there and be Christ in the world. Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the call, especially it's from Redeemer Radio in Fort Wayne, South Bend. You guys did a great job last week. Sherry Brownrigg and I were there for your fall share-a-thon, and thank you also very, very much for your faithful prayers and financial help. Regina and Rose, please forgive us. We have just reached that point at the end of the show. You're going to hear that lovely music in just a few seconds here. But Debbie, it's getting exciting because in another couple days, we're going to be opening up registration to everybody for the first Stand Tall retreat.
We are so excited. So open registration is going to begin on All Saints Day, so just in a couple days, and we'll be giving the details of how you can go online and register for the retreat that we're going to be hosting in Coleman, Alabama at St. Bernard's Abbey on February 9th through the 11th. We're going to visit Mother Angelica's resting place. It's going to be a fabulous, life-changing retreat, and I'm excited about it, Jerry. And we already have a lot of sign-ups from the pre-registration.
That's right. So be watching and listening for that. Don't forget to post your intentions on the prayer wall at jerryanddebbie.com. Our thanks to Matt and Jeff and Rich and everybody who help make the program what it is each and every day. Tomorrow, let me look on the calendar here.
Are you preparing for death? Are you prepared?
Yeah. That's right. Tomorrow our show is, it's something we all have to think about. Some people die unexpectedly. And there's all this scrambling going on to get all the details done. So are you putting those plans in place? We're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day.